thanks for the opportunity to speak on surveying and the new role for assessors. I'm just going to click ahead. So just really quickly, what changes are happening in the market for assessors? So there's the National Housing Retrofit Strategy, which has been introduced. There's a new updated advisory reports for BERs. There's a requirement for technical assessments to satisfy heat pumps and shallow retrofit works. They were always there. And now the introduction of the one-stop shop contractors, it opens up the market significantly for us and for our services. So we did a bit of research on what drives green home improvements with our colleagues, Credit Union Energy and House to Home, and we got these results back. So what are the main drivers? 68% said comfort and warmth was the main driver. We have 63% for to save money on energy. 43% was to be more climate friendly and green. We had 28% as part of a project or an upgrade or building works. And then 26% was to avail of grants on offer. So it was good news, and in some ways for assessors bad news, but good news that the clients were looking at comfort and warmth and save money on energy. But from the grant perspective and from our perspective, it wasn't great, I'd say. So we're just looking into now, what does the market think? So what are the barriers, I suppose, and from the same survey, what are the barriers for green home improvements? And what we found was, I would carry out a green home improvement if the process was more straightforward, and 59% agreed with that statement. The second one is, I don't know what energy grants are available. 60% agreed with that statement. And I don't know where to start with a home energy upgrade, 58%. So that's damning enough for us that we're not able to get that across. But if that percentage is there, it's good news. So we need to address those issues to make those barriers gone, essentially, and make it more fluid for the homeowner or the client. So what is the role the new role for assessors? And there's a few things in it. So there is a requirement for a more thorough survey and reporting, which would be in line with the technical assessment. There's definitely an increase in requirement for the quality and the standard of the work and what we're producing back to the client, and technical detail especially, over where a BER just more or less gives you a letter and off you go. The technical detail is so important for HLI, etc. So the ability to expand on experience and a knowledge base to assist homeowners will be a major factor, and the possibility to share and utilize assessor knowledge to provide a better service to clients. And I suppose fundamentally on the bottom there, we are moving away from the quick BER model, and we're using the new advisory report as a baseline to guide the client towards improving the property. So again, moving away from the BER into an advisory role for assessors to give valid input. So Brian had just outlined earlier the BER advisory report, and it gives us an overview of the property in its current state, because in most cases it's the pre-works BER. And it's a great visual for the client and the homeowner for what immediate changes need to be taken. And we have the traffic light system there, and red very poor, green very good, and in this case on top. We also have the proposed works, what your house will end up as, and that's a key indicator for clients, that they can actually quantify what is going to happen and what they're going to end up with. So the advisory report is a great addition. So the integral role of the assessor in this process, assessors can make a grant process easier with detailed technical data and proposals. And using the new advisory report will help homeowners process exactly where improvements can be made. So if a technical assessment has not been requested and it's just, say, a pre-BER, the advisory report will direct the client back to SEAI for the grant process, bringing the same assessor hopefully back in for further specification and BER work. So it will leave the door ajar for us if it's just a basic BER and the client goes through the advisory report, and the advisory report shows the client he has some low-hanging fruit in some cases. It'll bring us back in again as assessors to provide our technical assistance. So the new advisory report has all the contact detail in place to allow the clients to contact SEAI, and there's clear directions on how to avail of grant assistance also on the report. So it's very good. So from an assessor's perspective, like you do have interaction with the homeowner and the role requirements. So The client usually has researched and has quite a lot of knowledge on what they require beforehand, before they even pick up the phone to us. So it's essential for us as assessors to listen to the homeowner, what they want, and discuss and tailor our responses from there. So we're not going to steamroll over the homeowner with this and that. They know what they want, and we should work with what they want and in line, I suppose, with how their budgets are going to go and what the house wants to end up like at the end of the process. So the client has engaged us for our skills and our experience and our ability to give advice. So we're halfway there. So we should build a trust with the client that we as assessors are working in their best interests. So from that perspective, BER assessors, we're not salespeople. We're not there to sell certain types of heating systems, certain types of installations. We're building a trust with the client that we're going to provide them with the best methodology to produce the house or dwelling that they're looking for. So again, we've built a trust, they've engaged us, we want to keep that trust. So we're not salesmen, we've no sales pitch there for materials or systems. So it's a good idea to have a reference case or build a reference case experience that you can call on when you're dealing with the client. So the client can understand our recommendations, because not everybody understands what we're doing as much research as they do. So we find around heat pumps and renewables, we get the most queries and questions. U values and thermal bridging are easily explained on a casual level. We find if you go and you speak to a client and you're talking U values, thermal bridging factors, they get glazed over. So we would go back to, say, your jumper or your coat and say if the house has a thickness or the coat has a thickness and a density, you can get a U value from it. So we can compare any U value for a wall and a window. We can show the difference in heat losses based on those. But if we can refer it back to a simplistic version, it really does help the process, and the client really does engage with it a lot better. So the use of the deep software, we find, is pivotal now going forward. For when we talk to the clients, when we interact with the clients, it's the first thing we do in cases of surveys. We open up the computer and we use the software to present as much as possible, to put the client at ease that the assessors are following strict formats and we're following strict criteria, and we can display this to the client by just opening the computer. This is what you're doing. This is the result you're going to have. This is why we need to input this material here to get where we need to go here. As regards the client, they really do appreciate it, but we find it substantiates our inputs a lot better with the contractors, because some contractors, they're still buying into this. And once they see it in an official format with the deep software, they're able to take it on board a lot better, that it's not Brendan, Sidney and Billsert who suggested that we use this type of DCV or heat recovery or heat pump or whatever. It's through the system and the result is there in front of you, the HLI is there in front of you, and they all must be adhered to in compliance with the building regs. So the assessor as an energy advisor. So the new role for the assessor is now integral to the project from start to finish. So from first contact with the client, assessors assist with the design of the project. They assist with the grant application. They assist with the compliance proposal and ongoing input to the client before the final certification is completed. And then the final cert obviously is completed by us. So if the assessor is seen as an aid to the client with value added to the service, it tends to lead to further works through word of mouth and referrals, which is good. It's a rewarding service we supply, and it is totally different from the basic BER model of measure and leave. This assessor is not just measuring and leaving, he's adding value to the service provided by advising the client and I suppose guaranteeing the end results of the project that they're undertaking. So there's also, our records show that there's a level of payment reduction of barter and quibble in nearly every I suppose aspect of this, where the client sees that they're getting full value for money. They never come back, rarely ever say that this didn't work out, this wasn't worth it for the price of a project or a deep retrofit. In fairness, what we're charging for what we're doing is good value for money. So just on projected supply and demand, we have a quick format of what we're projecting. And Billsert projects with the climate action plan, there's 500,000 homes to be retrofit by 2030. That's circa 50,000 homes per year. And they all require technical assessments or surveys. We estimate 2022 will complete 2,000 technical assessments on deep retrofit and heat pump alone, and that will ramp up again in 2023-24. So just to conclude from our side, there is an immediate requirement for energy assessors who work in a different space than just BER assessment alone. It's clear with the government proposals and regulations that fixed targets must be achieved going forward. We see that from the Climate Action Plan. The figures we see for our company are sustainable, and they will be continuous for the next decade and grow. So the technical assessment model can also develop other strands of work which can benefit the assessors and develop stronger experience-led and life knowledge and personal skills to the folk that we can offer back to the client over the projects that we do over the next few years. So that's me for now, and thank you for your time.